Om Swastiastu. Hello, good evening, classes. How are you today? I hope you are all are healthy. And today we will continuing our discussion. And today's topic is about a slide about what is architecture. So I imagine that you already know a lot of architecture definition, term, and so on. But what about the definition in English, in the technical, what is architecture? So architecture is both process and product of planning, designing, and construction process. So in architecture, you process and in architecture, you are doing processing and producting, planning, designing, and construction of a building. Architecture is the art and science of designing and erecting building and other physical structure. So architecture also is an art and science. So in architecture, you learn how to process and product, and then it is a combination also from art and science. So it's a mix of many kind of knowledge that you have to learn in this field. Architecture is a style and a method of design and construction of building and other physical structure. So some of you guys may know architecture as a style. The style or the method of design and construction also is not wrong also. Architecture, the fourth point is a design activity. It crosses from macro level such as urban design, landscaping, architecture to the micro level, so like construction details and furniture also. So in architecture, you're not only learning how to build buildings, but also how to processing, how to planning a city. On your upper classes, upper course, you will find urban design in the 6th and the 7th semester. And I can see that many of well-known architects is also can design even the simplest design that you take it for granted, like a chair, for instance. So many of the well-known architects, famous architects, design a chair also, table and furniture for their building or for their clients. So architect is not only processing or designing a building, but you can also designing a city or a country and so on, the bigger production or even the smallest production like a furniture and details in construction. The term architecture has been adopted to describe the activity of designing any kind of system. It is commonly used in describing information technology. Sometimes if you Google architecture, the other term that will pop out is computer architecture. So architecture is not only designing, but the term of architecture is also used to describing activity, any kind of system. So sometimes the footballer coach is called the architect also, and it's not that he design building, but he coach the football team. So architecture is a very wide terminology that you can use almost everywhere. It's not basically on technical aspect of drawing, building all only. There are 7 elements of architecture design. The first is space. Space is area that is provided for particular purpose. So space is, in Indonesia, you can call it ruang. You need space to design, to conduct your design, to applicate your design. So if you don't have a space, then you cannot be an architect. The second element is line. Line is a basic first component actually of a shape and represent the continuous movement of a point along a surface. So a line is two-dimensional, and dot is one-dimensional. So line is a very basic concept for you. So for some of your course, maybe you have to learn how to draw a very straight line in earliest course in first or second semester. So line is very important in designing for an architect. The third is color. Color is seen either by the way light reflects off a surface or in colored light sources. There are primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. And then we have complementary colors. It is a color that opposite to each other in the color wheel. So in the right image is a color wheel, and complementary colors are used to create contrast. So like for instance, yellow and violet, they are opposite each other. And then we have red, orange, they're opposite with blue, green. The opposite or the complementary colors is good for contrast. And then we have analogous colors that is found side by side on the color wheel. The example like green and yellow green, or yellow and orange yellow. So analogous color can be used to create color harmony. We have monochromatic colors that are tint and shade of one color only. There are warm colors. It is a group of color that consists of red, yellow, and orange. So red, yellow, and orange is considered as the warm colors. We have cool colors that are a group of color that consists of purple, green, and blues, and colors and particularly contrasting color is also used to draw the attention to a particular part of the image. Speaking of colors, I have a question for you. Why do you think that McDonald's have chosen their colors by red and yellow only? So why don't they choose green as their trademark colors, or blue? Why do you think they choose red and yellow? Do you think it has to done with their sauce or their French fries colors? So I think they choose yellow and red colors because it has a bright effect. So you can see yellow and red colors from far away, and you can connect that by McDonald's. So it's from far away, you can sense that McDonald's is nearby by using that colors. The same colors, red and yellow, is associated with fast. So they will what do you think if you eat in McDonald's, if you dine in McDonald's, do you want to finish it quickly? It's because their architecture and their chosen of colors in their interior is making you eat fast and then leave the premise immediately. So colors is very important in your design. So what do you want your users do is it can be based on colors also. So you have very warm colors, very slow associate colors maybe for a slow and warm restaurant. So it's the opposite from McDonald's. It's a fast and it's a quick restaurant. The fourth element is shape. Like I said last week, shape is defined as an area that stands out from the space next to or around it due to a defined or implied boundary, or because of difference of value, color, or texture. So shapes, we have a geometric shape or organic shape. So organic or natural object or shape is such as tree form natural shape, and geometric shape is created by man-made. So in landscaping, natural shape will be contrasting with geometric shape such as the houses, but it's okay as long as you can find its harmony. The fifth is texture. Texture is perceived surface quality. From drawing, you can feel the texture. Yeah? You don't have to touch it, but you can feel the texture. In art, there are two types of texture. There is tactile and implied. Tactile or real texture is the way a surface of an object actually feels. Examples for this include sandpapers, cotton balls, tree bark, poppy fur, and so on. You can imagine that the object and your perception of the texture, you don't have to touch it. But we have implied texture. It is a way that surface of an object looks like it feels. The texture may look rough, smooth, granular, and so on, but cannot actually be felt. Texture you see in a photograph are implied texture. So if you touch the texture, you can call it its tactile texture, but if you see it in a picture, then it will be implied texture. The sixth is form. Form, the difference with shapes and line. So form represents any three-dimensional object. Form can be measured from the top to bottom. It's a height, side to side is a width, and back to front as a depth. There are two types of form. Geometric is a man-made form, and natural organic form. It's the same like shapes. Shapes we have geometric and natural shapes, and then in form we also have geometric form and natural form. Form may be enhanced by tone, texture, and color. The seventh is value. Value refers to the relationship between light and dark on a surface or an object. It gives the object the depth and perception. Value is also known as tone. So how you use the element of value to create your design by doing some depth and perception for the users. The other things about architecture, other than the element of design, you have the principle of design also. For instance, is unity. Unity is the sense that everything in a piece belongs there. Unity achieved through design harmony, repetition, and balance. How you can design an object that has a harmony in the surrounding, for instance. The second principle is contrast. Contrast is the occurrence of differing elements such as color, value, size, and so on. You have contrast colors, like I have told you before, and then you have size colors, so the other one is bigger than the smaller size, and so on. And then we have repetition principle. It's the rhythm, pattern, and recurrence. You have parity or alternation design. You have emphasis, dominance, or focal points. Which one is your dominance, or you can call it the emphasis principle. You have balance, placing of elements. You have proportion, the scale. You have functionality, and the last one is proximity. So you have it, elements of design. What about the process? The first slide I was told you that architecture is a process also. What is the meaning of a process? So an architectural design generally has the following concept, has the following components. The first is programming. It's a pre-design phase. In this phase, you have to identify and document your goals, objectives, needs, and requirements. The second process is schematic design. It is a preliminary design stage in which raw, spatial, technical, and conceptual design is prepared. The third is design development. It is an in-depth design that is produced and finalized. The fourth process is construction documentation, where you prepare your drawing, report, and contract documents. And the last process is implementation. The phase is contract administration. It involves site visit and development of progress report. In here also, you can do reviewing, construction, and installation. So the difference between architect and an artist is every step you make has its own objectivity. It has the process, the scientific, the engineering process behind your design. So you cannot suddenly your design without the process. So the famous architect, the well-known architect, is well known by their ability to conduct the process of designing schematically. There are 5 processes before the building can be installed, and from the programming, from the first or pre-design phase until the implementation. The next slide is about architectural history. So this slide will be continued next week. For architectural history, I will show it today. So there are many kind of period in architectural. For instance, this kind of table. So the first is Neolithic architecture, where the first architect is from mud, from animal painting or stone construction. And then we have the medieval architecture. Before medieval, we have a Greek, Egyptian, Roman architecture, and then we have medieval architecture, Romanic, pre-Romanic, Gothic, and so on. In this period, architect is founding the arc and halls. The next period is Renaissance architecture. It's where they focus on aesthetic quality like geometric proportion, symmetry, rather than on functionality. The 16th century we have Baroque, and then we have neoclassical after that, where visual and decoration for public building is dominant. In the early modern, we have pre-modern architecture, and then we have modern architecture that is focused on simplicity and practically. This is where many architects is emerge. And then we have postmodern that is focused on practically and use of shapes. And the other phase of the latest phase of architectural history is deconstructive, where multiple shapes are used and practically. So there are many phase period of architecture. Okay, that's it. There you have it. A little glimpse of architecture. What is an architecture? The element of architecture, and then you have the principle of architecture and the slice of about architecture history. I hope you enjoy my video for today. I'll see you again next week. If you have any question for me, do not hesitate to tell me, and we will discuss it about it. Thank you. See you again. Bye bye. Om Santi 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 Om.